Hi, and welcome to Epiphanies. I'm Reverend Jessy Brandon, and I'm a life cycle celebrant as well as an ordained metaphysical minister. And this is my opportunity to bring my two loves together, books and people. So today we're talking about the Celestine Prophecy. I'd show you the front, but I lost the cover many years ago. It's by James Redfield, and it is one of the most amazing books that I hear so many people talk about as being the first book that really set things off. So I'm just going to read you the author's note. I think that'll tell you enough about it. For half a century now, a new consciousness has been entering the human world, a new awareness that can only be called transcendent, spiritual. If you find yourself reading this book, then perhaps you already sense what is happening. You already feel it inside. It begins with a heightened perception of the way our lives move forward. We notice those chance events that occur at just the right moment and bring forth just the right individuals to suddenly send our lives in a new and important direction. Perhaps more than any other people in any other time, we intuit higher meaning in these mysterious happenings. Well, I'm not going to read you any more because I'm going to invite my guest today in. Jessy Morrison, if you'd join me, please.
Hey there.
Hi. So good to have you on the show.
Nice to see you, Jessy.
Thanks for coming.
Jessy and Jessy, it's got to be a team.
We're going to get confused. Listen, make yourself a cup of tea.
Thanks.
And I forgot to tell you to grab a cup of tea and take a seat and settle down, and let's see where we go with this. So I'm going to read Jessy's bio while she's making her tea. So, Jessy Morrison is a well-beloved healer. Do you know she wrote this herself? She's a Reiki teacher, a body talk practitioner, and founder of Transformational Tuesdays for Soulpreneurs. And really, she's a rebel with a cause, taking people from I can't to I am, free from pain and dis-ease. That's quite the bio.
Thank you.
It is, and there's so much more. The first one she gave me, 10 pages long. No, just kidding. Anyway.
At least 5, yeah.
At least 5.
It's been a long journey.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, but first I want to know, why did you choose this book to come visit me today?
I think this was the very first book that put me on my journey. I had just gone through a divorce. My daughter was in hospital, very, very ill. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with her. And my little boy wanted to jump out the window because he thought if he broke his legs, Daddy would come home.
Wow.
And it wasn't that kind of a situation. And I was going through, what the F? What just happened? My whole house of cards, everything had fallen down. When we had gotten married at 21, we had decided we would retire at 45. We were very close to that retirement. It was going to be early, and the whole house of cards just was swept away.
Wow.
And I stood there going, I have no idea what just happened to me.
So how did this book come into your hands?
Well, you read part of the author's note about synchronicity, about how there was a spiritual unfolding. I couldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't gone through that divorce. Like, I was so stuck in the unconsciousness of having the 2 cars, the 2 kids, the family home, the vacations all the time. It was a lovely story I had fed myself into. One of the reasons my ex left was pretty much because my daughter was so ill. She was practically living out of hospitals all the time. And his comment was it didn't fit in with his perception of the world, and you can have another kid. Or let her die. The doctors say she's going to die, let her die. Get over it. You can have another kid. And I was like, excuse me? This is the person I've been in love with for 20 years. You're my best friend. You're my soulmate. Well, I've come to put a different definition on soulmate too. Okay, he was my life mate for that period of time. But the book itself had been given to me years before. I had had whiplash for 6 years. I wasn't getting over it. I had another car accident. I always hit from behind or beside. The universe was saying, here, Jessy, get off this path, go over here. Or slow down and take a look at the roses. And I couldn't read the book. while I was married, I could not read the book. It was always there on my night table. It was something I would want to pick up, and it was like reading gibberish or Chinese. And it wasn't until I was packing up for moving on with the divorce and everything else that went on that I picked up the book, and it starts like this. I drove up to the restaurant and parked, then headed back to my seat to think for a moment. Charlene, I knew, would already be inside waiting to talk to me. But why? I hadn't heard a word from her in years. Why would she have shown up just now when I had sequestered myself in the woods? So he had gone on a retreat to lick his wounds, to change jobs, and how can you not want to know what the mystery is? The first paragraph, and it's written as a fictional story. So it wasn't that I was looking for an epiphany or anything. It wasn't that it was trying to jam spiritualism down my throat. It was just a good read, but all the way through the book, and it's so old, I'm going, oh my God, there's somebody else who thinks like me. Oh my God, this makes so much sense. Oh my God, it was just through the whole book. And I think I read it 3 or 4 times, and I read it to my children as a bedtime story.
Wow. And how did they respond to it?
Well, my daughter was 4, my son was 7, so it was a cool story. But on a subconscious level, I think it sort of defined our whole lives. Like I was always a Trekkie. Star Trek was my epiphany. It was the way I wanted to see the world. I wanted to go where no man had gone before. And that's what I do with my job and my career now. But I could not have done that working in pharmaceutical, being married the way I was. My whole life had to crumble in order to rise out of the ashes like somebody new.
And isn't that often the way? I mean, so many of the people that I know have had that very thing happen where their lives just completely blow up, fall apart, change.
And we call that an awakening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, the story was profound. And of course, then later he wrote more. But I couldn't believe how different the energy was for me from my married state to who I was becoming. Really, I went back to who I was. I had very much tried to fit into the scientific mold and to be the corporate diva and all this. And I was succeeding. I had so many accolades. I won so many trophies. But it meant nothing inside, okay? It was like I was hollow. And this is what I see people doing over and over. They're chasing the dream outside of themselves instead of working on what's going on in here. It could have been Louise Hay, you know, because she had You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah.
And all these books came to me at the same time, as did Reiki. It came to me at the same time.
Right.
And this book talks about energy.
Yeah.
It talks about energy vampires, but it doesn't use that term. It talks about how we give energy and how we receive energy. And for me, it was like, I guess the awakening was, oh, I'm allowed to feel this way. I'm allowed to think this way, because I had always been told, don't feel this way, think this way. Well, okay, so you turn off your feelings, but stuff is missing. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I turned 41, that's when I went, wait a minute. This is my life. I get to make the choices. And then I was just absolutely astonished that it took me that long to come to that realization. However, thank heavens.
Well, I was 40, 41. I'm 62 now, so it's been a journey, and I loved it. You got all his books here. I can see that. I mean, it was awesome. There was even a workbook in the early days that you could work through, which I bought, but never. I'm not a journaler, so I don't sit down. And I was a single mom, so I was busy.
Yeah. Something I've discovered about books is I don't always read all of them. I may just pick it up and read it for a while, and then I got the message. I got what I needed. There's books I have on my bookshelf that I didn't read, but I carried around as though I would get them osmosis.
And then you pass them on to the person who needs to read them.
Yeah, I was just a carrier.
And this is one of those books, I mean, I don't know how many copies I've given away, and then copies have been returned to me, you know, and it's such a beautiful cycle, and it's that energetic cycle of giving and letting people, I hate to use the word wake up all the time, but it is waking up.
It truly
it's becoming
is.
more conscious.
Yeah, it is, because all of a sudden you realize that the things that you always believed aren't working anymore, and the way you always coped doesn't work anymore, and there's just a different way. I remember when I first heard chop wood, carry water, seek enlightenment, and I thought, what in the blazes does that mean? And it's an old Buddhist statement, of course, and it just means do the regular things that you do, but seek the path of enlightenment.
Well, and bring it into your everyday world. We
Yeah.
don't sit there and meditate for 3 hours and then go on with our day.
Yeah.
It's like you bring your meditation into the day.
Absolutely.
And the whole story is like that, chapter by chapter. He starts seeing nature differently. He starts seeing the energy fields around things. The colors become more vibrant. He realizes when he is trying to manipulate power to get someone to do something he wants to do, and how he's being manipulated in other ways. So when you start looking at it at an energetic level, you see the world totally differently.
Yeah, you really do. So is there anything in particular that this book spoke to you? Is it basically just about energy, or is there anything else that really...
For me, it was stepping out of the story and becoming who I really authentically was.
Yeah.
Because we tend to give away pieces of ourselves to make other people like us more.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lose ourselves.
Exactly.
So it was me. I remember we had moved to 18 acres. I was renting a portion of a house with another single mother. And the driveway went on for miles, and it was stone, and there was a pond there. And I had no money. Okay, my savings, everything had been wiped out, everything was gone. My life was starting over, and I had just brought my daughter back from hospital. And I was walking on this path barefoot. I had a sun hat on. The sun was shining on my face. The wind was blowing very gently. And I'm looking at, oh, I've arrived. And the mind went into, are you kidding me? You just lost everything you've ever had. And it was like, no, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And this is my beginning. And it was such a peacefulness that came over me. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after that, I took my first Reiki class. And shortly after that, I learned EFT. And it became a journey of unfolding and opening up me. Mm-hmm. To finding out who I really am. Because, yeah, I can put on the chameleon mask and work in any corporation. I can go into nightclubs. I can be popular. But when we feel hollow, it's just a mask. Mm-hmm. And when you're being authentic, all the right synchronicities come into your awareness.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unfolding a path. It's like walking a labyrinth, and we've done that together.
Yes.
Okay, you put one foot in front of the other. You don't have to look at the whole labyrinth and see what the path is and how it's going, you know, where the goal is. You just put one foot in front of the other, and it's very contemplative and very nurturing, and you wind up where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
That's how life is. It can be that simple. Mm-hmm. But we make it into such task work.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Listen, we're going to take a break. I invite you to come back in just a moment. We're going to go away for a commercial message, and I'll be sitting right here with Jessy Morrison waiting for your return. Thank you. and welcome back. You're watching Epiphanies, and my guest today is Jessy Morrison, and we were talking about the Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, and he has other books as well. And yeah, there's the color.
The cover.
Anyway,
yeah, got them all here.
yeah, I have the
10th Insight.
10th Insight, and then the Secret of Shambhala, which is the
That's the 12th Insight, isn't it?
No, I think that's
Or
the
is it
10th.
vision?
That's the 11th. I don't have the 12th.
I think we have to start reading them again.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we better have a book club. Anybody want to join the book club with us? Now I want to know all about you. Who is Jessy Morrison in our community?
Okay, Jessy Morrison in the community is a lot of different things. People come to me for healing.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think of myself as a change catalyst. Okay, people come to me with an issue that they want to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's health related, pain, injury, anxiety, some sort of disease that the medical field says is non-curable.
Mm-hmm.
And we take them from a place of, well, I am this label, I am this hurt, I am whatever it is, and
And
take
I
them back
can't
to,
do this.
I can't, yeah, I can't do that. To a place of, yeah, I really am different, because it's just our stories that create our diseases. It's our emotions that create the body chemistry, that create the reactions that we go through, that lock up our knees, our hips, you know, our throat, our sore throat, all these different things.
Can I get you to expand on it's our stories that give us?
Yes. Shit happens. Pardon me. Shift happens. Okay. And it's the way we interpret those incidences that lock us up. Okay. So, an example, the divorce that I went through. Okay, it wasn't a divorce. It was our 20th wedding anniversary. He sat crying. He said he had to go away to think, and he did. And while he went away to think, he cleared up my bank accounts and insurance and blah, 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 blah. The story goes on, and it's like, oh, wow. And now I look back and I go, oh, he did me such a favor. But at the time, I didn't see it as a favor. I could have gone into blame. My mother went into, why is this happening to you? I went through divorce. It's happening to you. And my reframe was, Mom, I got to see how you and Dad did it. Totally dysfunctional, total war. Everybody came out blown to bits. I get to do this differently. Okay, so that was my reframe. I was no longer a victim.
Yeah.
The other children's book that I read to my kids was Little Soul in the Sun. And in there is a phrase where he says, nothing is done to you, it is done for you. So I could become a victim and allow myself to be victimized for 25 years now and say the divorce was devastating, it robbed me of this, and blah, 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 blah. And no, it really gave me a chance to start a new life.
Right.
At the time, I even thought in cowboy days, people would have died of cancer or dysentery or something to get out of a bad relationship. Well, now we just move on. Women have money, we have funding, we can have our jobs, our careers. We're not like other parts of the world where we don't have a voice. We're so lucky we live in Canada. We have this voice, we have this freedom to pick up our socks and do what we want to do.
Okay, so tell me, what do you do when you do what you want to do? What's it called and how do you do it?
I get to play with bodies. I call it Your Body Talks with Jessy Morrison. Because I use muscle testing to work with someone's unconscious mind to find out where the incident or the injury first got started. And you may have a sore knee, but it didn't start because you fell and tripped beside your car. It started when you were 4 years old and where something else was going on. Okay, and there was the beginning of an injury, and life compensates, your body compensates. Your body is a living organism, but it's more than that, it is energy.
Yeah.
So what I look for is where the energy got stuck or a fuse got blown is a better way of putting it. The fuse got blown, your body started to compensate, and then all this other stuff happened. Okay, so even headaches, I consider a fuse as being blown. And I ask the body, because there's hundreds of different reasons for a person having a headache. It could be that you don't have enough water to drink. Okay, the body and the brain needs hydration. It could be that you're not eating and your blood sugar is low. It could be that you've got a stiff neck because you're holding the thought that somebody did something to me and I have to hold revenge. And now you have this idea and suddenly you can't focus. The blood can't flow, the lymph can't flow, the brain isn't being nourished, and we call it a headache.
Yeah.
So I'm oversimplifying what I do because yes, so I can go into all kinds of different things. The pancreas isn't working properly, the liver isn't doing things, the heart isn't pumping the way it should be. But your body knows this, and it tells us.
Yeah.
I don't take a list and say, okay, well, according to your symptoms, we're going to try this. And if that doesn't work, we're going to try that.
Yeah.
I go direct to the source. This is healthcare designed by your body. And I have taken numerous courses over the past 25 years. Okay, I'm a master practitioner of NLP, but because NLP talks about or helps us understand language, because language is almost like spell casting. And if we don't watch what we're saying and how we say it and how it's imprinted in our unconscious mind, we can really mess ourselves up. Like somebody can say to you, oh, wow, you did something with your hair. And then you go into, do they mean they like it or they don't like it? Is it good or is it bad? And all of a sudden you start twisting these little stories in your mind, and you can walk out of here in a huff and go, she didn't like my hair, she insulted me. And all I said was, oh wow, you did something with your hair. But our internal makeup, our phobias and fears and insecurities color and filter all of this stuff. So this is why I want to know NLP. But the energy work of it all, I got started with this book.
Yeah. So you went from
energy.
Reiki to NLP.
I went from Reiki to EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique.
Right.
Which then opened me up to the awareness of acupuncture. This talks about Eastern medicine a little bit, okay? But it wasn't enough to make me curious. But EFT, touching on acupuncture points, the scientist in me had to know, why am I touching this? What does this mean? What am I accessing? So that brought me into acupuncture. The acupuncture brought me into body talk, okay? And the body talk, the first levels, were the muscle testing. I didn't know we could muscle test. I did the sway test on my own, but I didn't know it had a name, okay? It was just how I felt my body and my intuition. So all of these things lead to us opening up our awareness and intuition.
Right. So you have how many levels of body talk?
It's either 22 or 26. I just took 3 other courses as well. Well, because body talk was a perfect way of melding science with the awareness of the unconscious mind in the body. And for me, that was, all the lights went, and I went, oh, I have to know more. And so when I learned body talk, they taught us about the body chemistry and how to find out what it is in the body. But then I learned that your body chemistry is influenced by your emotions. Okay, did you know that if you are angry for 1 minute, your saliva changes to the same consistency of rattlesnake venom?
Wow, no.
And if you're angry for an hour, you could kill, if you wanted to spit, on 100 rattlesnakes, you could kill 100 rattlesnakes.
Wow.
So who do you know that got flipped off in traffic a month ago and they're still bitching about it? They're poisoning themselves.
Right.
Okay, anytime you, and for me that was a fascinating fact, because then I need to know, okay, tell me about this. And now I guess 3 or 4 years ago they started talking about we have to be more alkaline. Well, rattlesnake venom is very acidic. Okay, so it's our thoughts that make us alkaline or acidic. No virus, bacteria, parasite, or fungus, or even cancer can grow in an alkaline environment. So if we look at us energetically, we're kind of like a terrarium, those plants over there, and in order for them to heal, they have to have enough carbon dioxide that they take in instead of oxygen. They give us oxygen. There's this symbiosis going on, and we do this all the time. And for me, I always need to know more. I need to know more. I need to know more. So the NLP I got into because when a psychologist sends someone to me with their psychosomatic symptoms, it's all in their head. Yeah, it's in their head, but it's in their body too. I needed to know why, if I would get somebody out of depression or out of anxiety and all their symptoms were gone, they go back to the psychologist, and within a week it would be put back in. I thought, what am I not seeing here? I'm dealing with people's souls, because although I call it body talk, it's really soul talk. Okay, when your soul and your mind aren't congruent, you have pain. The body is the GPS that shows us what's happening here. So this is what I do. I just help people go through and clear up their misconceptions or the shocks and traumas and dramas that we've locked into our life. I sort of unwind them.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by asking you to describe the stories, because that is the things that we carry that we think are the reality of our lives, but they're just the things that happened for us to learn and to grow.
And they happened in our interpretation, because other people involved would see the situation totally differently.
Right, right.
And that's what's confusing. My daughter and I do a procedure called QCP. It's mirror work, looking into the eyes in a mirror and talking to your soul and the soul of the people who have done you wrong. So we get the whole cast of characters from everybody that's been in your life. I mean, not just parents and grandparents, but friends at school, anybody who has slighted you, hurt you, or that you're holding that resentment for. Because when we clear that out of the body, you're free. Your finances change, because whatever was said, and it doesn't have to be regarding finances, it has, for me, okay, I had a QCP done recently.
Okay.
And I said, well, I don't have any issues. I love my life the way it is right now. It's so much better than it was 20 years ago, which is even better than it was 40 years ago, and I thought I was happy then. And so I said, well, let's just do finances. Finances can always improve. And the block on my finances came from something in my history where I feel, and I've always been trying to prove, that women are just as good as men. So I have my armor on. But it was my abandonment of that male energy. Male energy is providing energy. As a female, I'm saying, oh, I don't need men, but I'm not embracing the female receiving, and I'm trying to be the guy.
Yeah. You know what? Unfortunately, I have to stop you there. We could go on for hours. I do invite you, my audience, to email me at jessy@jessybrandon.ca. If you have any questions about Jessy, about the book, about anything that we've discussed, I'd love to answer them in a later show. And I have...
Tell them to read the book.
Yeah, read the book. I have a mic drop question for you. What do you hope your legacy will be?
To create change. I want to see people happy and healthy, and I do it one person at a time, or with Transformational Tuesday, a group at a time. Bringing that awareness to other people that there is a different way of living your life, and that you can be happy and healthy and wealthy all at the same time.
And I go to Transformational Tuesdays every month, and I highly recommend it. It's so great. And I love that you do community work as well. You just did the Dragon Boat
Festival,
Reiki Tent Festival. Yeah.
We did the Monsanto Rally for 3 years in a row. There's a lot of different things that we do out there. Yeah, I like to work on the Rogers telethons, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, Jessy, it's been a real pleasure having you here with me. Thank you so much for making time in your busy
Thank
day.
you for letting me come.
And thank you for watching Epiphanies. I do hope you'll see us next week. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Bye now.